Somebody told you that you had to be a certain type of person to do this. They said you needed connections, capital, a degree, a plan so clean it had no room for error. They told you entrepreneurship was a specific kind of individual, bold, fearless, born ready, and maybe you believed them. But you're here. You found this show. You're in this episode. And that means something is pulling at you that logic alone cannot explain. So before we go anywhere else today, I just need you to sit with that. Welcome. You're listening to AllLegalFetti Presents. I'm your host, Fetti, and today we're talking about one word, chosen. You see, if you're brand new here, welcome to the family. This show exists for one reason, to give you the real, not the highlight reel, not the polished pitch, the actual lived experience of what it means to build something from nothing, to work a 9 to 5 and still believe in a 5 to 9, to be somewhere in the middle of the journey and have no idea what comes next. We cover all stages here: pre-launch, launch, growth, pivots, failures, comebacks, all forms of entrepreneurship. Side hustles, brick and mortar, digital, creative, community. If you're building something, this is your home. And if you've been rocking with me since season 1, thank you. You already know what it is. So let's get into it. In a previous episode, our best performing episode, we talked about legacy, what you leave behind, what you build that outlives the moment. And the response to that episode was like anything we've gotten this season, because legacy is personal. Legacy touches something deep. So I asked myself, what's the episode before legacy? What's the episode that explains why anyone would sacrifice enough to leave one? And the answer came back to me clear. You have to understand why you were chosen, or why you chose this. Because here's the thing, and I want you to hear this carefully. Not everyone who starts a business was built for entrepreneurship. And that's not an insult. That is a fact. And the people who don't hear that early enough, they suffer for it. They lose money, time, relationships, identity, because nobody told them the truth before they started. So today, I'm telling you the truth. There are 3 reasons people get into entrepreneurship, and only one of them builds something that lasts. Reason 1, escape. The first reason people start businesses is to escape. To escape a bad job, a bad boss, a bad situation. And I'm not going to lie to you, that energy is real fuel. I've talked to hundreds of entrepreneurs, and almost every single one of them has a "I was so sick of that place" story. That moment they sat in a parking lot or stared at a ceiling at 2 a.m. or watched a paycheck come in and then immediately leave and said, "I'm done." That fire is valid. That pain is valid. So I'm not dismissing it. But here's the problem with escape as your primary reason. Once you're out, the fire goes out with it. When you're chasing away from something, you have no map where you're going. You just know you're running. And running is not a business model. Running doesn't tell you what to build, who to serve, or why it matters. Running keeps you reactive instead of intentional. If escape is your only reason, I need you to go deeper. Because the moment the pain of your old life fades, the motivation fades with it. And you'll be sitting in the middle of your own business, which, by the way, is now the new thing you want to escape, with no idea how you got there. Escape can be the spark. It cannot be the engine. The second reason is money. And I want to be careful here, because money is not a bad reason. Don't let anyone romanticize entrepreneurship so much that they tell you wealth is a dirty motive. There's not. You should want to build financial freedom. You should want to provide for your family. You should want to stop trading hours for dollars and start building systems that earn while you sleep. Money as a goal, completely legitimate. Money as your only why, that's where it breaks down. Because business is slow. It's slower than anyone tells you. There are months, sometimes years, where the numbers don't make sense, where you're putting in more than you're getting out, where the math will tell any reasonable person to quit. And if money is your only compass, you will quit when the money isn't there. You'll pivot to whatever seems like is making money right now instead of building a thing that is uniquely yours. You'll chase every trend, every opportunity, every promise, and you'll end up scattered, exhausted, and no closer to the wealth you started for. So money is a destination. You need a vehicle that doesn't require money to be present in order to keep moving. Here's the third reason, and this is the one: purpose. Not a pretty Instagram word, not something you put in a bio. I mean the actual bone deep, gut level understanding of why specifically you are the person to do what you do. Purpose-driven entrepreneurs are the ones who survive. Not because they don't feel fear, they feel all of it. Not because the journey is easier, it's usually harder. But because when there's no money and there's no clear escape and the entire world is telling you to go back, purpose is the only thing that keeps you at the table. Purpose says, I see a problem that I cannot unsee. I have a skill that I cannot waste. There are people who need what I have to offer, and I'm the one to offer it. That is chosen energy. That is what this episode is about. So I want to talk to you specifically. Not the entrepreneur who I want to talk to you specifically. Not the entrepreneur who already has the LLC and the website and the first 10 clients. I'm talking to the person who's still on the fence. The person who has the idea but hasn't moved. The person who keeps saying, when the time is right. The person who watches other people build and feels something between inspiration and jealousy and doesn't quite know what to do with either feeling. I want to ask you something, and I need you to answer this honestly. Not to me, to yourself. Do you want the business or do you want what the business represents? Because those are two very different things. A lot of people want freedom, flexibility, status, and income. And they've been told that entrepreneurship is the path to all of it. And it can be, don't get me wrong, but the business itself is a vehicle, not a destination. If you want freedom, you need to know what freedom looks like for you specifically. If you want flexibility, you need to understand what you're willing to sacrifice to get it. Because in the beginning, entrepreneurship is the least flexible thing you will ever do. If you want status, I gotta be real with you. This is a hard road to choose for status. Because for a long time, nobody sees the work. Nobody sees the struggle. You're not going to be impressive to anyone until you are. So I ask you again, do you want the business or do you want what the business represents? If the answer is the business, if you wake up thinking about the problem you want to solve, if you are genuinely compelled by the work itself, if you feel incomplete when you're not building, then you might be chosen. And even if you're not the right person yet, even if you lack the skills, the capital, the network, the confidence, that calling is real and it can be answered. That's what this show exists to help you do. Let me tell you something about what chosen actually looks like in real life. It doesn't look like certainty. Most of the time, chosen looks like somebody who has no good reason to keep going and they keep going anyway. Think about the person working a full shift, coming home to kids who need them, eating dinner at 10 o'clock at night, and then sitting down for 2 hours to work on a thing they're building. Not because it's paying yet, not because anyone told them it will work, but because something in them simply will not let it go. That is chosen. That is not a side hustle story. That is a calling story. And the thing about a calling is that it doesn't care about your schedule. It doesn't care about your bank account. It doesn't care about whether you feel ready or whether the market is right or whether the economy is in your favor. A calling is a calling because it persists in spite of all of that. I want you to think about something you return to over and over again. An idea, a skill, a vision, something that keeps you coming back no matter how many times you set it down. Something people keep asking you about. Something that makes time move differently when you're doing it. That is your signal. You don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to recognize the signal when it comes. Now, I have to say something that most people won't say, and I say it not to discourage. I say it because I respect you too much to sugarcoat it. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone, and that's okay. There are people in this world who are exceptional at their craft, who are incredible contributors, who build beautiful lives and meaningful careers, and they do it as employees, as specialists, as collaborators. And that life is not a lesser life. Not everyone needs to own a business to live with purpose and an impact. But if you're someone who gets physically uncomfortable following other people's systems for too long, if you find yourself redesigning every process you touch, if you cannot stop seeing opportunities where other people see problems, if the idea of building something that is fully yours is not just appealing but necessary, then you might be in a category of people who were wired for this. And wired for it doesn't mean it will be easy. It means the difficulty won't stop you. It means you'll figure out the skills you don't have. It means you'll ask for help when you need it. It also means you'll fall down and you'll hate it, but you'll get back up. Not because someone told you to, but because the alternative is unacceptable to you. That is the marker. Not your resume, not your background, not how much money you have right now. The marker is, can you not do this? If the answer is no, if you genuinely cannot imagine not building something, then you don't need permission. You need a plan. And I can help you build it. So if you're sitting with this and you're thinking, okay, I hear you. I think I might be chosen. Now what? Let me give you 3 things you could do this week. Not next month, this week. Number 1, write down the problem. Before you build a product, before you design a logo, before you register an LLC, write down in one sentence the problem you're solving and who you're solving it for. If you cannot do that in one sentence, you don't have a business yet. You have an idea. Those are different things. Go do the work to close the gap. Number 2, audit your time. For the next 7 days, track where your hours actually go. Not where you think they go, where they actually go. Because if entrepreneurship is going to be real for you, you need to find time that currently does not exist. You will need to kill habits that are costing you more than they're giving you. You can't build a second life without auditing your first one. Number 3, tell one person. I don't mean announce it on social media. I mean find one person, a mentor, a peer, someone you trust, and say out loud, I'm building something. I'm serious about it. That act of verbalization does something to your brain. It makes it real. It creates accountability that you can't manufacture internally. Say it out loud to someone who will hold you to it. 3 things: write the problem, audit the time, tell one person. If you do all 3 before next episode, you've already started. I want to close with this. The word chosen is interesting because it works in 2 directions. Either you were chosen, meaning something in your design, your experience, your perspective, your pain has uniquely equipped you for the path you're on, or you chose, meaning made a decision consciously to do something harder than what was comfortable before you believed in something bigger than you feared. Both versions are true. Both versions are valid. And in many cases, both versions are happening at the same time. You don't have to be the right person today. You just have to be the person who chooses to become the right person. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be willing to start figuring it out. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be more committed than you are afraid. And that is chosen energy. And if you felt anything in this episode, if anything landed, if anything challenged you, if anything lit something up in your chest, that is not an accident. That is you recognizing something that was already here. That is you recognizing something that was already there. Honor it. This is season 3, episode chosen of AllLegalFetti Presents. If it moved you, share it, leave a rating, tell somebody. This show grows the same way entrepreneurship grows, one believer at a time. I'll see you next episode. Until then, stay building.